Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. Recently, Owen Dennis, the creator of Infinity Train, sat down with Cartoon Base on Twitter for an extensive interview discussing Infinity Train. And there's a lot that he discussed in this interview, so I won't be able to cover it all in today's video. But for today, I wanted to focus on what Owen had to say about the seasons of the show that were canceled, that didn't come to fruition, obviously, as we all know. Unfortunately, Cartoon Network, Warner Media at the time, I think it was before the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, they canceled Infinity Train after book 4 when Owen Dennis had planned books 5, 6, 7, and 8 to come along with a movie at some point in the future. But nevertheless, Cartoon Base asked, can you share any ideas that you considered exploring in later seasons? And Owen answered saying, I wanted to get into things like jealousy, loss, and grief. I wanted to do a season about the train causing someone's life in the real world to actually get worse, thus causing them to get back on the train. I also wanted to do one about memory and our sense of self. My grandfather, after he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, wrote down a 20-page or so essay about his life and everything that he could remember from it over the course of a few months. As you read it, you can see how he starts losing his memory or repeating things without realizing it. It was horrible, but incredibly insightful and personal view of seeing what happens as our brain stops remembering everything that ever made us who we are. I wanted to do a season about those feelings, about the idea of your own brain destroying itself, how it affects your loved ones, and how you can tell it's happening but can do nothing about it. Someone who is experiencing those things can't make a story about it, so I feel like it would be good for those of us that can to give it a shot. And he goes on to close that comment by saying, I'm sure we send more stuff in the season 3 DVD commentary tracks that we recorded a couple years ago, but I guess those are locked in a vault somewhere deep underground. And there's a lot to unpack in that statement, so I'm going to break it down by each of the themes that he wanted to explore in the upcoming seasons that we obviously didn't get to see. So obviously he says he wants to talk about jealousy, loss, and grief, and I think that those are good themes to cover within an Infinity Train book or an Infinity Train season. I feel like Infinity Train as a whole is basically a giant therapy session. It's a way for the characters to kind of deal with what's going on in their lives and kind of, become better for what they've been going through, or become a better person, or learn to deal with the troubles and tribulations that they're having in the real world. And I think jealousy, loss, and grief, obviously those are three things that many people deal with in real life, and I think they would have been cool to explore within the world of Infinity Train. But then he says he wanted to do a season about someone's life in the real world becoming worse due to having been put on the Infinity Train for who knows how long. And I think that this is actually a really fascinating idea, as he says that the person's life would get worse in the real world, so then they would have to be put back onto the train to refix whatever they're going through. And I think this is interesting for multiple reasons. Number one, when you think about Infinity Train as a whole, obviously we saw this in book 1 with Tulip. She's kind of just extracted from the real world. We don't know how long she's gone for, but we know her parents are probably looking for her. And I think it would be cool to see that this isn't exactly a great experience for the people on the train. Yes, their lives are becoming better. Yes, they're working through their issues that they have, but at the same time, a lot's going on in the real world. Like, imagine, just hypothetically speaking, you get put on Infinity Train. You have a job. You have, let's say, a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You have family, loved ones that you're leaving behind. You come back, let's say, maybe you're on the train for 4 or 5 months. You come back. Let's say that, boyfriend, girlfriend, they left you. Let's say your job that you had, they fired you just because you went missing. There's police reports saying, we don't know where this person is. We're looking for them. Your family's worried. They think you might have been killed. They don't know what happened to you. And I think that, someone going onto the train, coming off of it, and then experiencing those things, experiencing how the train has kind of ruined their life in a way, and then having to go back onto the train on top of that, I feel like that would have been such an interesting season. It would have been a deep dive into the psyche of whatever character that would have been. And honestly, that in particular, that season really does intrigue me. And I feel like in general, the ideas that Owen is portraying here, they really are some deep ideas that are rather serious. And I remember that Cartoon Network, the reasoning that was cited for the show being canceled is that it had no child entry point. And I will say, based on what I'm reading here, these are some very deep and dark and serious topics that I personally would have thoroughly enjoyed. But I can, understand how Cartoon Network maybe didn't want to go through with them, even though I think that their reasoning was stupid at the time, and I still think it's stupid sweep it now. This would have been great to see, and I do hope that we see it one day. The next one he discussed was his grandfather, who unfortunately had Alzheimer's, and he wanted to explore a season going into what happens when someone's mind starts betraying them. And again, such a deep, dark, and serious topic that honestly is rather sad. I remember Full House back in the day. For those of you who have seen that series, they had an episode where one of the characters had Alzheimer's, and it's a rather sad topic. And if you just think about it, you know, you're basically beginning to forget your life. You don't remember who the people in your life are, your loved ones. You might not remember your kids, your grandkids, whomever, because your mind's kind of falling apart and you can't do anything to stop it, as he said. And he discussed the example of his grandpa writing that essay, and I could just imagine as you read that essay and start to see him discuss, you know, things multiple times over and over again, it's just a rather sad topic, and honestly can be quite depressing for someone who's going through it, or for the family members who are having to watch their loved one go through it. And again, I think that would be such a cool season of the show because it's a really deep, dark, and serious topic. And the last thing he does say is he mentioned some more things in the season 3 DVD commentary tracks, and the reason why I mentioned that quote here is because we never got a season 3 DVD. If you guys recall, book 1 and 2 both had a DVD release. Then book 3 never got one. Book 4 never got one either, and apparently there was one that was in the works because he recorded commentary tracks for it, and who knows what happened to those. They're, as he said, probably sitting in a vault somewhere over at Warner Brothers Discovery and Cartoon Network. Before I sign off with this video, as I said before, there's a lot more from this interview, and this is only part of it, so we'll discuss some more quotes and more discussion based on this interview in later videos. But for now, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about the themes that Owen discusses here that would have been delved into in future seasons? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.